Hi, this is Nikki with Nikki Sweets and Adornments. Why don't you come and make a cute cheer Care Bear with me? Let me go over the materials that you'll need for this bear. I really prefer using modeling paste as opposed to fondant because it holds its shape so nice, and the brand that I like to use is called Smartflex. I've actually pre-measured all my different body parts in the different colors, and the colors that I used for this are by Color Mill. I used Candy, and I just used a tiny little drop of Color Mill Burgundy just to make it not quite so bright. And then what I did was, for this darker pink, I actually took a little bit of this pink that I mixed and added more of this burgundy color. You'll also need a little bit of white for the tummy, and then this muzzle, and then the ears. You'll need a rolling pin. I use these edible pens to outline the eyes and to make the little eyebrows, and I really like, these are called fractal colors, and I like them just because they have a nice sharp point to them. I used a variety of balling tools for the ears to make that shape there. This is actually a flower veiner, and I just used to mark where I wanted the eyes. This, I'll show you what I did later, but it helped me make the hearts. And this is actually called a scribe. It's a cookie tool. I used a Dresden tool to make these lines in the feet, and also this is a great tool to use to mark the mouth that I'll show you later. I also have a scalpel on hand so that I can cut the fondant if I need to. This is the circle that I'm going to use for the tummy. And this is what I used to make the hearts, and these are actually piping tips. And the little circle here is what I used on the feet. And I like using nonpareils for the highlight. You can also use a tiny little dot of fondant and roll it, but I find that it's just a lot easier to use these when you have fondant that's so little. It's kind of hard to handle and hard to stick on. If my fondant gets sticky, I actually have a pouch of cornstarch that I can just dust it, and you'll probably see me use that later. I really like weighing all my pieces because that way I know how much exactly I need to measure out, and I'm not going to over dye too much fondant and then have a color I don't know what to do with later. Also, when you're starting out, when I give you the measurements, it'll be nice for you because you'll know to make the head a certain size. It won't be too big or too small. I also have a palette here, and I have water and an edible paintbrush, and that's just going to be used as my glue. Alternatively, you can use edible glue. I tend not to do that just because I always have water on hand. The glue will dry a little faster, but anytime I make these figures, I make them several days in advance so they're nice and sturdy for the cake. So it's really not a problem for me. I'm going to start with the body of the Care Bear, and the body is 83 grams. So I'm just going to weigh out, that's 83. When you first take the modeling paste out of the bag, it's going to be a little bit stiff, so I'm just going to make sure and knead it so it's a lot more pliable. And you'll notice that all the rest of my fondant I keep in this bag to keep it nice and fresh and so it doesn't dry out. Once I feel like it's nice and pliable, I'm going to take my hands and cup them, and I'm going to roll them in a ball. I'm going to put pressure on both sides. That'll just help me get the creases out. Once I've done that for a few minutes, I can kind of take a look to see if I have any creases. It's looking pretty good. So once I have it into a ball, I'm going to actually think about rolling it now into more of a cone shape. Let's say you did have a crease. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could put that on the bottom. And anytime I'm doing a bear, I actually kind of like them to have kind of a fat tummy. I think they look kind of cute that way. Okay, so there's my body. I want it to be about like this. I'm going to move on to the legs. I'm going to need 20 grams total, but each leg is 10 grams. Okay, so that's 20. So I'm just going to roll it into a ball, and then I'm just going to cut that ball in half. And same thing, I'm just going to start by rolling it into a ball at first for each piece. Okay. Once I have it into a ball, I'm going to roll it into a tapered log. So one piece is kind of skinny over here and one piece is a little bit fatter over there. And I want them to look fairly similar. Once I've done this, I actually want this part to kind of curl up. So I'm just kind of doing this with my hand. This is going to make the foot. You can even take it and kind of use your mat to flatten it too. Then I'm going to take my Dresden tool here. This is where I'm going to make these lines. So there's one line in the middle. And then one on each side. And I just want to do the same thing to the other foot. So one in the middle, and then one on each side. So then my legs are going to kind of curve around the body like this. I'm going to take some of my water and I'm going to put it on the side of each leg. Make sure you use a good amount of water so it adheres well. Now this is the darker pink that I was talking about before. I'm going to use my fondant rolling pin to roll it out, about that thick or so. And I'm going to take my piping tip, it's a number 12, and I'm going to cut out 3 circles. Sometimes they kind of get stuck in the tip, and I'll just use this to kind of push them out. These I'm going to make into hearts in just a second. I also have 6 of these tiny little circles. So I'm also going to cut these out. And in order to get this out, I actually use the thinner side, my Dresden tool. Let's see if I can lay him on his back just a little bit. So on the pads of the feet, I'm just going to add some water. I'm going to add the 6 dots. And when I'm picking them up, I'm kind of smashing down the dot just a little bit. It's funny, sometimes these little pieces are some of the hardest to actually kind of maneuver. Now they do have really small heart plunger cutters that you could get if you wanted to. I have so many cake decorating tools that it's kind of nice sometimes to just figure it out without the tool. So what I'm doing, I'm taking a circle and I'm just using my fingers to kind of pinch the one end to kind of almost make a triangle. And then I just take my scribe. You could even use a toothpick if you wanted to. And just kind of bring the center down so it looks like a little heart. So I'm making 2 hearts for the pads of the feet, and then I'm also making 1 heart for the nose. I'm just gonna put him up like this so it can dry a little bit better. I'm gonna keep this for my nose. I'm gonna move on to my arms. Each arm is 7 grams. So I should have 14 grams here. So I'm just gonna cut this ball in half. I'm gonna roll it into a circle. Once I get a circle, I'm gonna do another tapered log. This one's gonna be skinnier than my bottom legs. And I wanna make sure that they're gonna be the same length. I think I'm happy with those. Now, one thing I do for the Care Bear is for the hands, I actually kind of flatten them at first. You can make the wrist a little smaller if you want. And then I want to make a little thumb. The hands are almost going to look like mittens. So I'm going to take my scalpel, and in order to make a thumb, I'm going to cut here on an angle. That piece is going to be the thumb. And then I'm going to cut straight down and remove this triangle. Now what you want to make sure and do, see how this piece and this piece are pointed. I want to kind of soften those. So I just take my finger and just soften, make it a little bit more rounded. You'll see how it kind of looks like a little mitten. Now, one thing you want to make sure and do is you want to make sure and put the thumb on the right side. So if I put the thumb on this side, I want to make sure that it's going to be on the right side here. So I know I need it to be over here on this side. So I'm going to cut it at an angle. There's the thumb. And then again, straight down. I feel like that would be something I would do, would be to do the thumbs on the wrong side. And I'm just going to take them and soften them again. I'm going to take my water and put it on the part of my arm that's going to attach to the body. So I'm starting the tip, the skinny end goes way up here at the top. But just make sure that it adheres everywhere. Same thing for the other side. Okay, let's make the little tummy with the rainbow. I want to show you how I made that. I set aside, let's see how much white fondant we have. About 20 grams or so, it doesn't have to be exact. I'm gonna need some for the tummy and some for this little muzzle area and then some for the ears. I'll show you what I did to make the rainbow. These are actually edible images, and when I did the edible image, I made sure to do a circle around my cutter, around the edible image. That way I know where to cut the fondant, so it'll be the same size as the edible image. And you could do this for Cheer Bear. This would be another image for, I don't know the name of, there's another bear that's purple that has this on the tummy. Comment below if you know the name of it. So this one I've already cut out. It used to be a circle. I'm just going to roll out some white fondant. Now, on their tummy, it's actually an oval, but I can manipulate this circle and actually make it into an oval so I don't have to buy an oval cutter. So you see how I start with the circle, but if you kind of pull it at both ends, just kind of tweak it a little bit, you can make it into more of an oval shape. And that way you don't have to buy another cutter. I already have enough cake decorating supplies, so I don't need any more. I'm gonna take my edible image. Now, edible images almost always have this backing. So just make sure and take that off. And it's also important to not saturate this with water. So I'm actually taking my brush, putting in water and kind of wringing it out. Just put just the smallest amount just to make it stick. If you put too much, it'll bubble up on you. And then I'm just going to put some water in the back. Stick my cute little tummy on. All right, and I want to do one last thing before I stick on the head. I have a toothpick here. This is just gonna make so when I stick the head on that it's more stable. If you wanna make the whole piece edible, you could also use spaghetti. If you use a toothpick, just make sure and tell the client that they can't eat the piece. Okay. And that way, when I start working on my head, this will kind of firm up a little bit more as well. I wanna start working on the head. My head is 54 grams, which I believe this is here. Yes. Same thing, I'm just gonna make sure and knead it out of the packet. Make it nice and pliable. Okay, I feel like it's pretty pliable. I'm gonna start rolling it, putting pressure on both sides of my hands. Just checking for creases. I'm pretty happy with it. Just feel like it's a little sticky, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of cornstarch. Now, if you look at this head, you'll notice that the top is a little bit more narrow and it kind of goes out like this. So I'm gonna try to kind of shape this one the same. Also, about halfway down or so, I'm going to start putting an indent here with my finger. This is going to make so you get these really cute cheeks. And then I'm also going to do just a little bit of an indent right here. And that just gives me a little bit of room to put that white muzzle area. And just keep working it just to kind of build up. See how that cheek is starting to build up over there? Anytime I'm doing a character like maybe Winnie the Pooh or Care Bears, I think they look really cute if they have nice big poofy cheeks. And you can always test it to see how it looks on your body. But hopefully when I give you the weights, it should help with that. Sometimes when you're first starting out modeling, it's hard to get the proportions just right. Okay, I'm gonna make this little muzzle area here. I'm gonna need 2 grams of modeling paste. I'm gonna start out by making a circle. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Just sticking to my fingers a little bit. I'm gonna kind of slightly flatten it, and also I wanna make it into more of an oval shape. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, it should fit right in this space here. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm just gonna attach it with my water. Now I put little marks here that kind of represents where the whiskers would be. And I just use this scribe tool again and put 3 on this side and 3 on this side. And make sure that I like my heart still. And I'm going to attach it right on the top here. Care Bear has to have a heart nose. I really like using this tool to make the mouth. And really you just kind of stick it in the modeling paste and kind of press it down, and you can kind of come up on each side to make it smile. And then if you want, you can actually go around and make a little lip. So I'm just kind of pressing down where the bottom of the lip would be. And then you can press it out like that to make the mouth open too. Just make sure you smooth. This is getting a little sticky. Smooth this area out here. See how that makes a cute little smile? I'd like to move on to the ears. I'm going to weigh out 1.6 grams for both ears, but feel free, if your scale isn't that exact, just make sure to do 2. The ears on the Care Bears are actually pretty small. So I'm going to roll it out into a ball. And then I'm just going to flatten it a little bit. I'm going to take about, let's see how much this is, maybe 0.5 grams or so. Oh, doesn't even pick it up. We'll say 0.5 grams. This is just going to make the white in the center. So I'm just kind of making a smaller white disc. I'm going to attach it with some water. Just kind of flatten it a little bit. I'm going to take my bigger balling tool . I have some sticky modeling paste today. So the balling tool just kind of makes it so that it dips in the center, makes that nice ear shape. And then I'm just going to cut this exactly in half. And you can even take the balling tool again. Let me use a smaller one. And just kind of curve it around so, you know, it's not so flat here, it's more curved. And I'm gonna take water and put it on the bottom of my ear. Okay, so now I have 2 ears. If you'd like, you can do these little tufts of hair. They're very easy. I just take a little ball of fondant, roll into a ball, and then almost like a teardrop shape. So about like this. Here's one, and I always like to do 2 of them. Maybe one a little bit smaller than the other one. All right, let's work on the eyes and the eyebrows. I'm gonna take my flower veining tool, or you could even use the end of a paintbrush if it's a little thinner than this. And right above the cheeks, I'm gonna kind of mark where I want my eyes. So above the cheeks, and then just to the right and the left of this muzzle area. I'm going to take more of my white modeling paste, just a little bit. I feel like with the eyes, I always get too much and then I end up cutting that in half. So I think I'm going to cut this in half. So I'm rolling them in circles at first, and then I'm going to go for more of an oval shape. The shape I'm kind of going for almost looks like a little tic-tac. And then once I have a tic-tac, I'm just going to kind of flatten it just a little bit. And I'm also just trying to make sure that they're not going to be perfect, but they're going to be similar in size. I'm going to take my water and put it where the eye sockets are. Now I need to make the darker pink of my eye. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of this darker pink, cut it in half, and I'm just going to kind of test it, and I can already tell that I made it too big. So what I will do is actually cut this piece in half and then use these 2 pieces. With modeling, it's a lot of times you're just kind of trying things, you put it up. If you don't like it, just, tweak it. So I'm rolling into a ball and then almost like a little mini tic-tac, smaller than the white. And then just flattening it out just a little bit. And the pink I'm going to attach at the bottom of the white. And I like to still leave a little bit of whites on the side of the eye. Just trying to even them out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to move on to the black areas. So that's where I use my black edible pen. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a ball at the bottom here. Now the most ideal thing would be actually to make these and kind of let them dry, because it's going to be easier to paint on. And also, I don't know if you can tell, but when I'm drawing this on, it's kind of wiggling a little bit. So I'm just kind of drawing a circle at the bottom. Okay, and then to make it a little bit more cartoon-like, I actually draw a circle around both eyes. And then I'm going to just make some little eyelashes. So I start about here and I just draw 3 lashes like this. Then I'm going to take my pink and I would say about halfway between the eyeball and the ear, I'm going to draw an eyebrow. To finish off my eyes, I'm going to put a little bit of water on top of where the black is. I'm going to use these nonpareils to do the highlights in my eyes. Something kind of funny about these is they actually vary in size. So I'll take some out and put it on my board and just find 2 that are similar in size. I'm just going to place it on the top of my black. And then you can actually use this side of the tool and just press it down just so it sticks. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just gonna add some water to the top of my body. And also some water on the bottom of my head. I think I'm done with my Care Bear. What do you think?